Okay, hello and welcome for the very first time to the shed. Now this channel is more or less an homage to Big Clive, who basically gave me the idea of just checking out some bits and pieces. First video I've ever made, in fact, for YouTube, so if it's crap let me know down below, which it probably will be. Because it's a very basic kind of setup I've got here for making the video. Well, this thing I'm fiddling with at the moment is just a USB power, like a power meter, current and voltage meter, and of course I've got my little dummy load here with variable load just on the basis of turning this little screw. And what we're going to test, well, it's something USB based, isn't it? Well, what we're actually going what we're going to be testing is this Orico 4-port smart wall charger, which I've looked around on YouTube and I couldn't find a review of this. And I've had it probably for about a year. I've used it overseas in the US on 110 volts, as well as here in Australia on 240 volts, and but I don't know really whether it's performing to spec. So we'll see. What does it say on the back? It doesn't really say very much, but I think there's more information actually on the device itself. This is the device itself, quite made out of fairly hard impact resisting plastic. I'm sure I've dropped it a few times, which it's withstood quite well. Design's quite elegant, quite pretty to look at. The power leads, or should I say the blades on the thing, are insulated up to halfway down them, which makes it a little bit safer for plugging and unplugging into the mains. And these ports are all supposed to be of a similar spec, and it says on here, I don't know whether you can see this or not. I'll try and get it. See, we'll be testing how the focusing works in this way, won't we? But it'll use between 100 and 240 volts. It says 0.8 amps. So I suppose at 100 volts, 0.8 amps is going to be 80 watts, isn't it? But then it says 34 watts maximum. That's output, of course. 5 volts, 6.8 amps, 34 watts, and that's over the full 4 ports. So sort of 8.5 watts. If you're using all 4 ports, I presume it will be about 8.5 watts per port. But it says it will do 2.4 amps per port, so I suppose we could have a look and see if this performs according to its specifications. Now, although I watched quite a bit of Big Clive's work, I wasn't able to get hold of the famous Hoppy meter. I'll zoom in a little here, I think, if I can do that. Must be the zoom. Oh, my goodness, it works. Alright, so here we go. We don't have the Hoppy, but I have made myself a little power meter. I ought to have a Patreon channel. I ought to start a Patreon channel, shouldn't I, and put some plans down on how to make this little thing. It's a cool, neat little thing, this, that measures voltage, current, power factor, and watts, and total power consumed, as well as frequency. So it probably does a little bit. I suppose it's very similar to the Hoppy, but perhaps slightly more elegant. Let's plug the thing in and see if it consumes any power on standby. So there we go, it's flicking around a bit. So before we plug anything in, we're looking at, let's zoom a little. we're looking at a power factor of 0.05, which is a bad start, and 0.2 watts roughly, 50 hertz. So next thing, we'll plug the meter in, the USB power meter, and then plug it in the top of there. And I might need to zoom out so you can see both things at the same time. Just bear with me. Wrong way, let's try that way. Okay, so let's just flick this round. Yeah, you see how good Clive is when you can see how good Clive is when you compare his videos with mine. So what we've got 5.1 volts and no amps at the moment, so we're okay. So let's just plug the power meter, the load in, see how we go. So we're on an amp there, 1.1, and we're on 5 volts. And if we turn up, we're on to 1 point. Let's get a little bit more zoom on this. And just get you a little bit more into shot. So 1.36 amps and 5 volts. Okay, fan hasn't come on the load yet. I don't want to be touching that against the conductive surface of the power meter, of the mains power meter, that is. Right, we're on. I'm sure that fan should be coming on soon. I can feel some warmth coming off the MOSFET there. 2 amps, 5 volts, and we're still on. Okay, so excuse me. The whole setup is consuming 12.3 watts at a power factor of 0.49. It's 100 milliamps. Oh, the fan comes on the load. It's not before time. Let's see if we can get up to 2.4, 2.1, 2.2, 2.41 amps at 5 volts. So that's up to spec. So I'll tweak it up a bit more, so let's see how far we can go before we get a shutdown on the load. 2.5, 2.6 amps, 2.7, 2.7, 2.8. Don't really want to push it. We'll go up to 3 amps if we can. 3 amps at 4.9 volts. So that is well beyond rated spec. And I think at that we'll just wind things back a bit and let the fan cool the dummy load down. We'll leave it running. Take it down to 0.3 amps. Just let the thing cool down a bit. So that works rather well. Certainly on one port it'll easily give 3 amps. And with some of the intelligent charge systems that we have on phones and tablets these days, that's a useful feature, that it can provide an adequate current. It'll certainly provide as much as your phone or tablet will require, I would reckon. Now 15 watts is a fair amount. I know there are devices like the modern iPads that can be charged at higher rates than that, but that's a pretty good output for a small power supply like this. Not particularly expensive. So I don't think I've really got much more to say about that. I mean, if there was gripes with it, I mean, One of the major gripes is the power factor, which is 0.36. Let's just crank the current back up again and see what happens to the power factor. It's pretty constant at about 0.5, isn't it? I'm not sure why my little dummy load here has variable speed on the fan. As far as I'm concerned, it may as well just be full on. If it needs to be on, it needs to be on, and if it's going at high revs, it's always going to be doing a better job than if it's going at low revs. Better job of cooling anyway. 3.25 amps there, so that's excellent. That's right at the end of the measurement range. We'll turn him back down. So I had it at over 3 amps that time, and the voltage was quite stable at around 5 volts, which is well within spec. Just let him cool down. Well, I think that'll do for my very first video. I'll be more than happy to accept comments below. I know there's going to be a lot of critical comments. It's not exactly, this isn't really what you'd call a professional kind of video, and my hand's been all over the place while I've been doing things, partly covering up the screen, the display screen of the mains supply monitor. So yeah, I'm sure there's going to be comments, but there you go. All criticism taken, constructive or not. And I should probably just mention that my next video will be on a similar but possibly slightly more expensive Anker desktop USB power bank. Thanks for watching.